what's up, everyone? My name is Untamendo, and welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are talking about Ahsoka, episodes 1 and 2. I will also be discussing these two episodes with my friend Roman of the Empire tomorrow on Roman of the Empire's channel. So if you catch this later on, just know that I have also, hopefully by the time this video comes out, I have also spoken to more than one person, myself, and I, about these episodes. And I will be honest, my initial thoughts were they've broken their own lore again. They keep calling Ahsoka a Jedi. And while I do understand the opinion that Ahsoka, to people who are outside of Force users like the Sith and the Jedi, they just say everyone that's a Force user, if they're good, they're a Jedi. If they're bad, they're a Sith. But Rosario Dawson, who is playing Ahsoka, I think she's doing a great part, but I still do not like the fact that she is continuously called a Jedi, and she is now taken on a Padawan, which, if you are not a master or a Jedi Knight, you do not get a Padawan. That's just kind of how the order runs, but I am getting in too deep too early, so we're going to talk about the Screen Rants recap, and I will add in some commentary as I deem necessary, because I have opinions and I have feelings about this episode. So let's get into it without further ado. Ahsoka, episodes 1 and 2 recap and ending explained. 7. Star Wars reveals. Ahsoka episode 1 and 2 set up a Star Wars adventure of far greater scale than anyone expected. Here are 7 major reveals from the episodes. And that image looks okay. It's kind of cool. I will be honest. I think Rosario Dawson does play Ahsoka well. Some of the mannerisms that I guess she is, I assume she watched some of Rebels and Clone Wars to get a little bit about how Ahsoka behaves and her mannerisms, her thought process. So I think as far as the actress is concerned, I think she does a great job portraying Ahsoka. I just think that the writing in this episode is subpar. And this is not anything against the actors. Some of the acting in these two episodes were actually pretty good. I just the plot of the episodes 1 and 2, in concept, I think it's a really cool idea. It's the execution of said plot that's kind of where it's just lacking in my opinion, but I digress. Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2 set up a dramatic confrontation between Ahsoka and the forces assembled by Morgan Elsbeth. I can't pronounce her name. With Grand Admiral Thrawn as the prize, also including Ezra, because Ezra is the reason Grand Admiral Thrawn is not with us. So when we're going after Thrawn, by association, Ezra is also going to most likely be with Thrawn, or if he's not with him, he's near him. The greatest of the Imperial Grand Admirals, Thrawn was Palpatine's top strategist and military tactician. He disappeared shortly before the events of the first Star Wars movie in the epic ending of Star Wars Rebels, when Ezra Bridger hatched a desperate plot to defeat him. The Jedi Padawan summoned a flock of Purrgil, I think I said that right, Star Wars space whales, to spirit Thrawn's flagship off into hyperspace. He's been missing ever since, and so has Ezra, who was also aboard the flagship at the time. Yeah, if any of you have seen Rebels, that ending episode with Ezra, just that desperate attempt, like it was very emotional, especially if you watched all of Rebels. I think Ezra was a pretty decent character. I think he had some major flaws, but most characters do, and was he my favorite character in Rebels? No. Was he in the top 10? Yes. I will, as far as Rebels is concerned, I'm gonna say always I'm an OG fan. Rex and Ahsoka kind of, in my opinion, were the better ones of that show, but that's just me. And yeah, Thrawn has been gone for at least 9 years, depending on exactly where Ahsoka fits into the Star Wars timeline. We're assuming this is 9 years after the fall of the Empire, roughly, which is still debatable, but Imperial remnants are working to bring him back to the galaxy, hoping he will be able to unify them and lead them into battle against the nascent New Republic. Sorry, I keep seeing the N words. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Ahsoka is the story of the quest for Grand Admiral Thrawn and of the heroes who attempt to prevent his return. So this is a lot. This is going to have a lot of returning characters from Rebels. Just in the first 2 episodes, you already see Hera, Chopper, Sabine Wren, and you get a lot of Rebels memorabilia and kind of callbacks in these episodes. So Grand Admiral Thrawn is in another galaxy. When George Lucas launched Star Wars, it all kicked off with the famous line, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2 blow this wide open, however, because the story is actually becoming intergalactic in nature. I will be honest, the story has always been intergalactic in nature. It's just a lot of the time, unless you were playing video games or you read any of the EU material, you were not aware of some of the other galaxies that were out there. So in my opinion, I think if you are a deep Star Wars nerd fandom, like I would consider myself mid, but you would know that there are the Star Wars legendarium is very diverse, very rich, very deep, has some hiccups in there, but it's very well, it's a world. It's a, like, there's more than just that one galaxy there. All right. Becoming erratic in nature. According to Morgan Elsbeth, one of Thrawn's closest allies, the Purgil migration paths take them beyond the confines of the galaxy and on to a distant place called Perida. I believe that's how it's said. I didn't pay attention very much in the episodes. My apologies. Lady Morgan believes this is where Grand Admiral Thrawn is, banished to another galaxy, unable to return under his own power, which is kind of weird because it was like a big cruiser. It was what's it? There was some sort of class cruiser, but it's basically one of the biggest Imperial ships, and you would think that, I mean, unless it ran out of energy, that could be maybe the hyperdrive core was overheated or overworn, or because of the hyperdrive whales that were attached to it. I don't know. I'm sure they'll figure out they'll give us something. Morgan has found the route to Thrawn. In another shock twist, Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2 reveal the Star Wars galaxy was visited by beings from Peridia millennia ago. These visitors left behind a star map, one that Morgan uses to chart a course to, just gonna say, Pangea. Looking at the star map, it's reasonable to assume these extragalactic aliens discovered hyperspace by studying the Purgils and simply followed their migration paths across the void between galaxies. Now Lady Morgan intends to do the same in reverse. So basically what's happening is they're realizing that the space whales, the hyperdrive whales, have migration patterns, and they're going to try and find their migration patterns, or follow their migration patterns, to locate Grand Admiral Thrawn. So that's kind of her thought process. Morgan has created a ship to reach Thrawn. Lady Morgan's work seems to have been underway for years, taking advantage of her secret factories on Han Solo's homeworld, Corellia. Yeah, Corellia has come back yet again, and it's just as bad as it was when he left. A shipyard world in the galactic core. Imperial sympathizers have been secretly extracting hyperdrive cores from superstar destroyers, some of the most powerful hyperdrive units ever built. This in itself must have been a massive project, given the Empire only had 13 SSDs by the time of the Battle of Endor? Ondor. Endor. Sorry. These extracted hyperdrive cores have been situated in a massive hyperdrive ring, allowing them to be used in concert to propel Lady Morgan's ship, the Eye of Sion, across the intergalactic void at speed. So, like, all of these big circles are hyperdrive cores. The basic design of the Eye of Sion is fairly similar to the hyperdrive rings used by the Jedi during the Clone Wars. It's also reminiscent of Outbound Flight, a Legends fleet design for the purpose of traveling between the galaxies as well. Appropriately enough, Outbound Flight was created by writer Timothy Zahn, the same man who came up with Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. Yes, they're trying to do these key janglings for us EU fans, saying, "Hey, look, we did read the EU. We've got EU things. Don't hate us. Watch this show because we see you." Sure you do. I'll believe it when I see more of this. Baylan believes finding Thrawn will give him power. So many of you who saw the trailer for Ahsoka saw this dude and were like, what? Who is this guy? We discover that Baylan was once a Jedi in the Jedi Order, or at least a Padawan. And we don't know much more than that he was a Jedi, and he has an apprentice right now. Morgan Elizabeth, I'm just going to say Morgan Elizabeth because I know I'm saying it wrong and it's just easier to say that, has hired a group of mercenaries to help her find Grand Admiral Thrawn. Curiously, though, it's already becoming clear Baylan Skoll, a former Jedi who somehow survived Order 66, like every other Jedi seemed to have survived Order 66, has his own agenda. Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2 deliberately style Baylan after Darth Vader himself, presenting him as a true force to be reckoned with. He believes the quest for Thrawn will give him and his apprentice, Shin Hati, tremendous power, and the episodes may have already revealed why this is the case. I am not sure, but I will say I knew that they were trying to stylize him, but the same as Vader, because there was a hallway scene and he did the whole force choke slashy thing. It was just very reminiscent of the hallway scene of Vader, which we know now that Disney has Star Wars, they are banking on hallway scenes being amazing. They for some reason can do hallway scenes amazing, but they can't do much else. There seems to be a link between the Night Sisters and Peridea. If this article doesn't do too much depth into the Night Sisters, we'll talk about them a little bit more. Morgan is able to activate the star map through the use of Night Sister powers, which perhaps serves as a hint to the Night Sisters of Dathomir. Dathomir? Why am I able to pronounce this other times, but I can't pronounce it when I've recorded. Anyway. The Night Sisters of Dathomir are somehow connected to Pangea. Although their magic... This is why it's hard for me to read, because magic is not with the K. Screen Rant, do better. Magic is rooted in the dark side. The Night Sisters' power is very different to the Sith, so much so that their very use of the Force appears to depend on different principles and rules. It's possible this is because they are somehow linked to Pangea, and their affinity with the Force follows the patterns of this different galaxy. If that's the case, Baylan is hoping to acquire mastery over the Force in ways Jedi cannot imagine. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very good conclusion on why Baylan wants to accompany Lady Morgan on this quest to a different galaxy. Because different galaxies probably have different ways of using and utilizing the Force. Like the Night Sisters, they are not Sith as far as they do not abide by the Sith code. They are a different sect of Force users, different from Jedi, Sith, and Gray Jedi even. They're they're very mysterious. They're kind of touched upon in Clone Wars and a little in Rebels. And some video games kind of touch on the Night Sisters' background. They're a very interesting culture. If you ever do any research on the Night Sisters and just kind of their role in the Star Wars universe, their bigger role in the Star Wars universe. Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera uncover the Empire's plot. Unfortunately for Morgan, her plans have drawn the attention of Ahsoka Tano, and Ahsoka is not without high-level friends in the New Republic. Sabine is able to discover links between an assassin droid and Morgan's factories on Corellia, and Ahsoka and Hera head to the shipyard to investigate. There, they swiftly discover Imperial loyalists who have been helping ship the SSD's hyperdrive units out to Lady Morgan. They take down this cell, and Hera manages to attach a tracker to the ship, transporting the hyperdrive unit to the Eye of Sion. So I'm assuming in episode 3, we're probably going to have some sort of face down between Ahsoka, Baylan, and Morgan at the Eye, and hopefully they're able to stop it. I doubt they're going to be able to stop them right now because it would not be helpful to the plot. I imagine that Ahsoka and Sabine and Hera are going to lose, and then they're going to come back stronger. Baylan foresees a confrontation with Ahsoka. Baylan senses a coming confrontation with Ahsoka, clearly one seen in several key scenes in the Ahsoka trailers. He clearly possesses a unique connection to the Force, one that allows him to focus on individuals and events, perceive the future surrounding them. This may well be how he survived Order 66. Probably. It's possible he sensed the clone troopers' coming betrayal and slipped away before they turned on the Jedi. This foreknowledge now allows him to work with Shin and Merrick to set a trap for Ahsoka and her friends. The stakes in Star Wars have seldom been this high. Trailers for Ahsoka have hinted at the coming darkness that feels as though it is greater than anything represented by Baylan and Lady Morgan. It's now reasonable to assume this darkness will flow from Lady Morgan successfully finding her way to Pangaea, and it's possible she will discover secrets of the Force that are far more dangerous than anything found in the main Star Wars galaxy. Viewers will have to wait a week to learn how Ahsoka and her friends survive the trap and whether this ominous possibility becomes reality. I think my predictions are, because he sees that Ahsoka's going to come for them. Of course, they're going to have the trap. He and Ahsoka are going to battle. He's going to somehow trip Ahsoka up, mentioning Anakin, as we have seen in the trailers. He's going to mention Anakin, and he's going to throw Ahsoka off. And also, one of the big things that the first 2 episodes talk about, which weren't really there was no context for why Sabine Wren is a Padawan or a former Padawan of Ahsoka Tano, because Ahsoka Tano is not a Jedi, and she has said this multiple times that she is no Jedi, and she is not part of the Jedi Order. But for some reason, it's kind of, in this show so far, is seen as she is now a Jedi all of a sudden because she is taking on a Padawan, and Sabine Wren doesn't really have much of a connection with the Force. There's a droid that's been kind of tagging along with Ahsoka, who was once a trainer of Padawans, and he tells Sabine, your connection to the Force is the worst I have ever seen. And also, it could have happened, of course, but the 9 years between the fall of the Republic, or the fall of the Empire, and the rise of the New Republic, and what's happening now. But we just don't get a lot of context on why Sabine, all of a sudden, she's a Mandalorian. Why does she want to learn the Jedi arts? Yes, she has Ezra's lightsaber, and she's made her own adjustments, kind of like what Obi-Wan did with Anakin's lightsaber when he handed it off to Luke. And I imagine there's probably some sort of, they're trying to pay homage, not pay homage, but to call back to Obi-Wan changing Anakin's lightsaber and it becoming Luke's lightsaber. But I don't know. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I just Sabine is a Mandalorian, and for those of you who know, my channel is Untamed Mando. I get my name from Mandalorian, and I have been a fan of the Mandalorian culture since before Disney took over Star Wars. And Sabine, like, while you can, like, of course, in the new canon, they have made Clan Vizsla, one of their people, I don't even remember his name right now, but made him the only Mandalorian Jedi, and I think that's what they're trying to do with Sabine Wren. But I also thought that that's what they were going to try and do with Din Djarin or Bo-Katan. Like, they're trying to get it's not Shae Vizsla. Sorry, I play a lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic, and Shae Vizsla's the one of the main characters of that, but she is part of Clan Vizsla. So I don't know. Like, if they're trying to do a callback making her the next Mandalorian Jedi, they're not doing a very good job, in my opinion. Because Sabine, when we see her again, she's kind of like given up almost. It's kind of like she's just like she's become a hermit. She did a Jake Skywalker and became a hermit. And all of a sudden, Ahsoka comes. She's like, hey, I need your help with something. And that's where we find out that they were master and apprentice. But then, while Sabine is examining the star map, she's attacked and she grabs her lightsaber instead of her Mandalorian armor or her Mandalorian weapons. Like, also, the HK assassin droids, are their pikes made of Beskar? Because they were blocking lightsaber strikes and they shouldn't have been able to do that. So I'm getting into the nitty gritty, but it's just stuff like that I'm personally am confused on. And I know there are going to be people in the comments who, like a friend of mine and I were talking earlier, all of this can be explained. And while, yes, it bends canon, it doesn't outright break it. And it could be that Ahsoka, after the fall of the Empire, Luke Skywalker, being the last Jedi, made her a Jedi Knight because he, by default, became the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. So that could be a thing. That could be why she's a Jedi. But also, like, when we see her in The Mandalorian talking to Luke Skywalker, it doesn't really seem like that she's a Jedi still. She's still going under the assumption, like, yes, I was trained in the Jedi arts, but I am not a Jedi. I was a Padawan, and I never moved on from being a Padawan. As far as what we, as the audience from Disney canon, are able to see from my perspective. And I could be wrong. I could be extremely wrong because I didn't see like that episode. I probably wasn't paying enough attention to see if that's actually how the interaction with Luke was, but it was mostly talking about Grogu and how Grogu has the same fears and emotions that Anakin did, and that's what caused Anakin to go to the dark side. But we see Grogu kind of doing the opposite of Sabine here. Grogu, was a Jedi and chooses to become a Mandalorian, and Sabine Wren was a Mandalorian and is choosing to become a Jedi. But at the very end, that last part of the episode, she puts her Mandalorian armor back on, does the ceremonial cutting of her hair to signify that she is going to war again. I don't know. I'm kind of confused in these episodes. We're kind of bringing in a lot of threads, a lot of things that aren't really explained. It's just kind of glossed over, in my opinion. I had wished that we'd got in episode 1, maybe we'd gotten a little bit more backstory on Sabine and Ahsoka, like why did Sabine and Ahsoka part ways? All we get is Ahsoka maybe made the right choice, but the wrong consequence came out. Like, it's very vague, and I don't know, maybe get flashbacks of Ahsoka being trained by Anakin. Like, I just think that in episode 1, they should have maybe given us a little bit more background and backstory before they just dove straight on into the heavy, thick plot. But it's just my opinion. I overall, like, out of 1 out of 10, I'd give it a 6. solid 6, maybe 6.5. I think that there were just a lot of opportunities that they could have, used to go into some backstory. But maybe they're probably going to do that in the 3rd episode. But I think Ahsoka's only going to be like 8 episodes, maybe 9. I keep hearing the number 8 or 9. So in the comments down below, please go ahead and tell me how many episodes the series is probably going to have. Because I think the first 2 episodes were not, they shouldn't have just thrown so much at us and not given us enough information to kind of figure out what's going on. But maybe, hey, that's what they're trying to do. They're making us ask these questions and think about these things and theorize, and that's what fans do. Fans theorize with each other. So I had high hopes for Ahsoka. Ahsoka's one of my favorite Star Wars characters out of the new canon. Her and Bo-Katan, I really enjoyed both of their characters in Rebels and Clone Wars. I enjoy any Mandalorian culture that I can get, and it just kind of made me sad that Sabine would turn her back on her people again. And that's what it felt like, because like she turned her back on her people once already, and now she's doing it again. How it feels. And, like, we don't get any mentions of the Darksaber. Like, does she know that it's been destroyed? Has it been destroyed yet? I don't know where this takes place as far as the Mandalorian timeline versus the new Order 1, because we all know everything is going to go tie back to the sequel trilogy, which I didn't really care for the sequel trilogy, in my honest opinion. I felt like I wish they would have had, like, my main gripe with the sequel trilogy is I wish that we would have gotten a reunion of the original trio and had the torch passed off while we still had all 3 of them alive. I think that's the biggest mistake that was done in the sequel trilogies. I wanted a reunion and a passing of the torch from the OG trio to the new trio. But that's getting off into the weeds, and this video is about Ahsoka. So let me know your thoughts in the comments if you saw the episodes or not, and if you plan on watching the episodes or not. I apologize for the kind of sporadicness of this video. I recently just got done watching it, so I made this review as soon as I could after watching the first 2 episodes. So please, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Pass this out, or share this out. Anyway, sorry, puff pass. But don't do that with this. That'd be a little weird. So I will be doing these reviews every week, so please come back to the channel and watch for episode 3 of Ahsoka, and then I will tomorrow, August 24th, be on my friend Roman of the Empire's channel, talking about these 2 episodes with my friends on his panel, and it should be a great show. So please, if you are a friend of Roman of the Empire, please don't miss that show tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.